Hi, ShineSparklers. Today, my topics touch on the cousin of marketing. But the cousin of marketing is important because, uh, hold on. Okay, sorry. Also wanted to make sure everything was okay with the video. The cousin of marketing, which is branding, is important to marketing. And it's actually a precursor to marketing. In the very first video, which seems like I made it a million years ago, we talked about attention and being able to grab people's attention when we get out there for people to find us. And the way that we would get attention is through our branding. Being a photographer or producing photographs is not enough in today's world. And you need to have something a little bit more refined and deep and meaningful in order for people to find that connection with you. If they don't make the connection, they scroll on. So welcome to video number, I think it's 11. And we've only got a couple of days left in the week where I will finish the alphabet. So we're almost done with the ABCs of marketing. So today it's going to be the letters U and V. But first, before I begin, I will remind you that I have a free PDF guide, newly minted and written for you. If you're struggling in marketing, it's called the 5 missteps that photographers make that attract price shoppers and drain you of your passion, profits, and joy. I feel like I've said that so many times now that it should roll off the tongue, but it doesn't always. Anyhow, go check it out if you're having trouble with marketing. I give some really good advice there on how to be able to break through these common issues that many of us seem to stumble upon when we first start out in trying to build a photography business. The link is in the description. Go and find that. And in the meantime, we are going to get started. So the letter U today, and that stands for unique selling proposition. And that can sound kind of complicated, but it is relatively simple to understand. Thing is that it might be simple to understand, but not so simple to create. And that's why we need a little bit of education around this concept so that we can get some of the tools into our head to be able to craft a proposition that is attractive to other people and bring bookings to us, which is the goal. So what is a unique selling proposition? It's a statement that asserts why people might want to do business with you over other people. Now, I'm going to try to be clear about the fact that you're not referencing other people in this statement. You want to assert what makes you different just in and of itself. And it must be compelling enough that people know that it's different from other people. So that's the case. So you're not like, I'm lower priced than photographer X. You don't want to mention anybody else in your unique selling proposition, but it should be built into it that people are already clear from that statement of why they would want to work with you and not with somebody else. So I see this a lot, and both in names of photography businesses and in what they may believe is their unique selling proposition, which it's not. And it's the phrase of capturing memories or a variation of that, like capturing timeless memories or beautiful memories or something around beautiful, something around capturing, something around memories. It's not unique because many photographers use that language. So it's not a unique selling proposition just on that one point that it's not unique. It also doesn't sell anything. It doesn't tell anybody. So if I said to you, I capture memories, okay, and why should I choose you to capture my memories over the dozens of other photographers who are also in the business of capturing memories? So it doesn't tell me why or how you will do that differently for me, better for me. I'll love it much more than the other guys. So that's what's missing in that kind of definition. So if you go to your website or look at your emails and what you're sending, if you're sending a version of that, it's very general and generic, and it's not going to get you much traction in a world where, dozens of other photographers are saying the same things. So when we talk about standing out in a saturated market, people think there's some magic bullet, but essentially it's just some of the really small mistakes that we are making that we feel we don't even know that they're a mistake, right? We think to ourselves, well, this is what I do. I capture memories for people. I want to capture their memories the way I do it for myself. But we don't really think about the bigger implication of what our language is or what we're crafting as a message to that public audience. And it just isn't enough. It's too similar to what other people do, and it doesn't give enough meat on the bone for somebody to say, yes, of course, that's why I want you to take my photos. And I said no to all those other ones that popped up in my Google search. So you have to answer the question of like why and how and or how. Um, and capturing memories is more of a definition of like what a camera does. Like if you looked up the definition of a camera in a dictionary, it might say a tool for capturing memories, but more like capturing photographs, which represent the memories. But you get what I mean, right? Um, and we all have the same stuff that we offer. So the reason why it's so difficult is because there's so many other people who do what we do. But if you think about every other market, they have the same problem. So we use a camera. There are so many camera providers out there. I'll just name off a few: Canon, Nikon, Sony, Olympus. There's many. Leica. There's so many. And all of them sell the same stuff. They sell lenses, they sell camera bodies, accessories, lighting maybe, and they all need to do the same thing as we do. Why would you buy Canon over Nikon or Sony over Canon? They're constantly moving their position around to be first in your mind. So we are not the only ones that have these saturated markets. There's a saturated market for just about every product out there, and people still are able to succeed. And people are still in business, Canon and Nikon and Sony and Olympus, they all may be in competition, but they have their fair share of people who are loyal to their brand. And why? Because they have done a good job in stating their unique selling proposition, and it's a proposition that appeals to the audience who's buying from them, right? So there's a buyer for every brand, let's say. So you have to help people find you based on your unique selling proposition so that they know when they're floating in from, a sea of fog and you're that lighthouse. I talk about in the feed here in the Facebook group, the lighthouse strategy. Be that beam of light. You tell them why they want to have you as their provider, and they're attracted to that light beam and they come towards it, right? So, what is what are the parts of a unique selling proposition? It's a little bit hard to get our minds wrapped around it. Um, to be able to craft a sentence, it's not easy, but we can all do it. So the USP, first of all, states a product or a service usually. To have to kind of know what it is that you're talking about. It states like the features of something or the sell, right? The selling proposition, like what is the sell? What are the features of the product or the service? And then what is the benefit? So it's kind of like a whole bunch of stuff wrapped into one. In some cases, there is a guarantee wrapped into it too. Um, so I'm going to use the example of Domino's. Domino's Pizza started by two brothers some years ago, and they were struggling like every other, sort of pizza shop. And then they fell on a unique selling proposition, which now is used as a marketing case study quite often because it not only became a great unique selling proposition for them, but it actually changed how pizza is delivered, right? So Domino's USP, if you don't know it already, but you probably do, and you've probably hoped that they wouldn't fill their USP so that you could get a pizza for free. It's hot, fresh pizza delivered to your door in 30 minutes or less, or it's free. Let's break that down. There's a product or a service, fresh, hot pizza. And they add a couple of adjectives in there purposefully. So it's not like you're going to get a cold, bland, floppy pizza. They want to sort of build up their product in your mind. So it's not just pizza either, just like photography. I'm offering photography. It's kind of bland, right? So what kind of photography? Even if everybody expects their pizza to be hot and fresh, they say it because oftentimes we think that people know and we don't say things and we're assuming. Fill in that space in your buyer's mind or they will fill it for themselves based on the things that they receive. And it may not be the same things that you want to impart. So first off, they have a product or a service and they have adjectives to sort of build up that service or product, which is for them hot and fresh pizza. So that's the first part, which is the product or service. And then they sell the features. It's delivered to your door in 30 minutes or less. That's unique because no other pizza provider had promised anything like that at that time. And so it was revolutionary. And people were like, oh my God, that's great. Because when you want a pizza, you want it now, right? It's like having your haircut. Once you decide you have a haircut, you want to get into that hairdresser now. Same with pizza. You don't want to wait an hour for pizza and then it won't be hot and fresh if it's taken a whole hour to get to you. So there's a powerful benefit in there of the feature of their service of quick delivery for your benefit of hot and fresh pizza. And then they have a guarantee built in, 30 minutes or less, or it's free. We talked about I talked about guarantees in one of the other videos under the letter G. You can go and find that because many a photographer is very averse to offering guarantees. And, has Domino's gone out of business? Maybe they did have to refund a couple of pizzas or give free pizzas. But how many? I don't know what their last financial outlook is, but I'm pretty sure they are a healthy and well-operating organization, and they have been around for decades, and they have, they have no sign of stopping. So if they're willing to put their reputation on the line and their money on the line, they have to be really confident that they can get that pizza to you in less than 30 minutes, right? So the guarantee, mostly what I talked about in the other video is that the guarantee sort of operates on you because it forces Domino's to be accountable to their own USP, to what they are promising. And if some odd situation happens where a pizza can't get to you in 30 minutes, it's a drop in the bucket based on how many people will order when they hear that unique selling proposition. Like 30 minutes or it's free, great, I'm calling, right? I'm getting Domino's. And so it far outweighs the not having it. And so those components have made Domino's a powerhouse in the pizza delivery industry. Another one that's been heralded for their amazing USP that was created, I think, somewhere in the 70s was FedEx. And that USP was when it absolutely, positively has to be there overnight. Again, we are photographers. Many people say, I'm a photographer, I'm capturing your timeless memories. And again, it's not unique and it doesn't really pull anything. There's nothing to pull out of it to make it valuable or special. And so FedEx, I'm sure there are other, companies who ship parcels around the globe. And so our timeless or capturing memories would be the same thing as, a company like that saying, we will ship your parcels overnight. There's nothing really remarkable about that. Many people ship overnight. If FedEx is certainly not the only player in that field. And So they again, once again, used the adjectives. So they didn't say what the parcel is, but it's sort of implied. So sometimes you can get a little bit creative, but there is an implication because people start to associate FedEx with delivery of packages. So they say positively, absolutely. Those adjectives are so powerful just to add in from to that more bland, we'll ship it overnight. All of a sudden it's like boom, it has this implication like when you are urgently needing to ship something, they are urgently waiting to get it there for you on time. And that just creates a powerful message for people. So you can't trust anybody else because they're just saying, well, yeah, it's going to be there overnight, but there's no guarantee in that. There's no oomph in that. But when they say absolutely positively, like you're like, okay, that's the only guy I'm going to go with because now I'm absolutely certain that my stuff will get there when it's supposed to. So again, that there's a power in there that they're serious about it and you're serious about it, and there's a guarantee in there. Like if it wouldn't get there overnight, I'm sure they would make it right for you, because the guarantee is sort of already baked into their service. So then again, based on that guarantee, it's the company that has to hold themselves accountable to that overnight. They have to do everything in their power to do it. And that's why it's so fearful for us photographers because we often lack confidence in being able to back up our stuff. And that kind of fear prevents us from moving forward with a confidence that we could guarantee our work. One more, Geico. 15 minutes can save you 15% or more on car insurance. This one has a couple of things. So the 15 and 15, it's like a little clever play on words, and it sticks in your mind. 15 minutes for 15%. What's 15% worth to you? When it comes to a business like this, they're a commodity business and they often rely on price. That's a strategy. That's not just them lowering price to try and find business. It's intentional, because that is how they gain their business mostly. So 15 minutes will save you 15%. And then on what? The product or the service, car insurance. And the 15 minutes is telling you it's going to be very fast. And that is something that's important too. It's not just save 15% on your car insurance, call us. You could be on the phone for hours if they didn't say it, but they did. They said 15 minutes. So somebody goes, well, I've got 15 minutes to spare. That's fine. And that's a promise to you to make this a fast and painless exercise to move over to their car insurance service. So oh, I did have one more. M&Ms. I think we all know this one too. So one of the aspects of a really good USP is the fact that for these big brand names in our society, they become secondhand and you associate them with these things right away. So if I said M&Ms, what will you say to me? You will automatically say they melt in your mouth and not in your hand. I mean, like even from the time we're young, and we start recognizing this, right? So they make a promise, right? So they have to uphold that promise. There's guarantee in there, and there's a benefit that you will not have chocolatey fingers after you eat their treat. And I guess, some other candy, when you eat it, you get sticky fingers or chocolatey fingers. And it was just something that they had to point out, and all of a sudden there's a power to it. And they've used that successfully for so many years. So think about how you can make things a little bit different. So go deeper than capturing memories or timeless memories, something like that. So kind of state what you do, follow the formula a little bit, state what you do, photography, add a couple of adjectives, right? And those are your brand words. We're going to talk about vocabulary in a second. Those are your brand words. So what kind of photography? And I'm not just talking about the genre, like family photography or wedding photography, but you can add that in too. So you might be a wedding photographer. And what kind, adventurous, romantic, each of those has a very different flavor to it. And you will pique the interest of a crowd who might want adventurous wedding photography, or the crowd that wants romantic wedding photography. You can see already how it's like narrowing down your audience to those people who want what it is that you're going to offer. And then you state like a benefit of why somebody would want you over others. And so you have to think about what the benefits are. So if you are the romantic wedding photographer, there you have to look at a number of benefits that would create for the buyer, right? And that means you're looking for very specific moments. It might be the way you shoot. It might be that you put no time limits and you do full day coverage. It really depends. So I can't really tell you exactly what yours should be, but focus on the features and the benefits of your service, and then pull out something that really resonates with you and would resonate with your ideal client. I'll give you mine, and maybe that can help you a little bit too. And mine is it's a little bit longer, but I'll just shorten it. It's like non-traditional photography. So this is what I offer: wedding and family. I think I put like non-traditional wedding and family photography that's as unique as your footprint on this earth. Now, that came to me over a number of years. I didn't have necessarily the best USP either. It grows with you, even though I have a lot of marketing background. When I first started, I did a lot of the same things, uh, and I didn't really use my marketing knowledge because my marketing knowledge was in big agency for big brands, and I couldn't really translate it into a small business. And I had a little bit of blinders on because when it's your own business, your own baby, it's different. So I think, I had maybe a version of that. It's evolved into that. And so it's, non-traditional photography. That's because I have a non-traditional approach. So that already sort of narrows down my audience and speaks to people who don't want cookie cutter things, solutions, photographs. And then as unique as your footprint on this earth. So we all know that hands and feet are not the same. And we also know that our feet are the ones that carry us through the adventure that we call life. And when a baby is born and their feet have never been walked on, those amazingly cute little padded feet, we wonder about the adventures that they're going to walk into. And their adventures are unique to them because nobody can walk your path, right? It is absolutely like a fingerprint where no one person's life is the same, and different adventures and paths and journeys await us all. So that USP really brings out the fact that I'm going to give them something non-traditional already that's as unique as their footprint, which means that I'm reflecting their path back to them. Nobody has walked their path. It's not ever going to look the same as anybody else, and it will truly reflect their dynamic and their journey. So it makes people understand that I'm not just there to capture memories, right? It doesn't go deeply enough, right? So everybody can capture memory, but can they do it in a non-traditional way and in a way that reflects the client's unique life or footprint on this earth? So it almost, like, it's not like we're meaning something different. We all do capture memories in one way, shape, or form, but it's just how you say it. How you say it, and adding those infusions that is your brand that makes it more powerful. If you ever need any help with this, I'm always available. I do offer consulting, and if you need help creating your USP, I can do that for you as well. So if you're struggling with getting these concepts in from theory into practical, you might benefit from a mentorship, and you can find it on the ShineSparkleMarketing.com website under Sparkle School. In the meantime, we will go on to vocabulary. And it's important in USP to use vocabulary that is part of your brand energy, because then it deepens that experience. So as hot, fresh pizza, it brings up a feeling, right? If they just said cold, floppy pizza, it would have a different feeling, right? But they didn't. They said hot and fresh pizza. So it brings up an idea for you that you're going to have this wonderfully piping hot, crispy, fresh pizza in 30 minutes and your mouth is already watering, right? And I'm thinking pizza for dinner. Anyone else? Anyhow, so the vocabulary matters. It matters everywhere, but it matters when you're building your brand. And I am big on words. If you have followed me at all, I'm constantly doing stuff with words, and you could just see it on the blog. I have words that I've made up. I I use words in a different way, um, any number of things. But I shy away from certain words, things like pics for pictures. If there's any way to cheapen the experience, it's to say pics. Also, you have to be careful of the associations, right? So if people who post their food, on Instagram, let's say, or your vacation or whatever, they consider their photographs pics. So if you want to be not grouped in to what everybody else does, which is a problem because photo taking, people do it for fun and people do it professionally. And how do you build that boundary or the difference where your photographs are professional level and theirs are amateur level? Well, one of the things is don't call them what they call them. So don't call editing filters or presets filters, because then people are like, well, I use filters too. I'm just going to slap a filter on something. We don't slap anything. We don't slap filters. We edit based on education, on artistic vision. You want to create boundaries. And the way you do that is through a vocabulary. So don't say things like pics when you're speaking with clients, because you don't want it to be that you're doing the same as them. Also, they take their pics for free. Well, not they pay for their phones, but they take their pics for free. So then they're like, well, why can't I have your pics for free? So you can see how that can get you into a little bit of hot water. And things like shooting, I know we use that pretty frequently, and sometimes it just slips out. It's kind of common, but I try not to use the word shooting. I'm going to be shooting your family or something. I always use the word session. We will have a session, and I call it photographing. It might sound a little longer or whatever, and but that's what I prefer to use to create a certain sense of my business. Um, with brand, your words have to match your energy. So think of dressing yourself up. So if you put on an outfit and you put on a little black dress because you're going out, and then you put your running shoes on, they might not match. You may want to put on, your dress shoes to make the outfit. So when one element doesn't match the other, then you break the feeling that you're trying to create with your brand. Now, running shoes and a black dress might work if that's your brand. But if your brand is like an upscale, dressed up person, then dirty running shoes are not going to do the trick, right? People will immediately see that and feel like there's a break in the brand feeling. Um, so let's use an example of a luxury hotel. So you walk into the Four Seasons. You would expect people to be dressed a certain way. You would expect them maybe to talk to you in a certain way. And brands take this very seriously, especially luxury brands. They craft everything. Everything that they do is subject to a brand audit. And if it doesn't match, it's out. So they have scripts for their personnel. People are trained on what the brand is and isn't, and they play the role. They have, uniforms maybe, or a dress code or something, and a statement of behavior, let's say, like there are ways to interact with clients and things like that. Nothing is taken for granted. So, for example, if you were to walk up to the counter of the Four Seasons and you're checking in, and the person says, "Hey, girl," it wouldn't really be a Four Seasons greeting. It would be more like Motel 8 greeting. Nobody would do that at the Four Seasons or other luxury hotels. They have a script. They greet you. They have, always greets customers with a salutation, "Hello, Mr. or Mrs.," and using their name and being polite. and not, like, hey, girl, nice to see you. They can be friendly and they have the bounds within that they can work in that brand, but they have to stick to the brand energy. So if somebody went, oh, yeah, your room's ready, here's the keys, the elevator's over there, that wouldn't happen either at the Four Seasons. Somebody would say, here are the keys to your suite. May I have somebody come and show you to your room and take your luggage? Thank you very much for staying with us. I hope you enjoy your stay. I mean, like, you can feel the flavor is different. And I don't want you to be pretentious. That's not what this is about. But luxury does have an upscale feel to it, so you want to make sure that the energy matches. But it doesn't have to be upscale. Your brand could be casual lifestyle, but what it does have to do is match. So, Thug Kitchen, I don't know if you've ever heard of that, but it's like a cookbook, a vegan cookbook, but they swear a lot because they kind of challenge you to be vegan. And they use a lot of curse words and they're almost mean, and that's the brand. It makes you kind of laugh almost when they talk, when they use curse words when it comes to cooking vegan food, especially. It's really funny. It's a real juxtaposition, and that is their intention. So their brand words match, and their brand words are all swear words, pretty much. And it's Chef Ramsay. It's another one. His brand is to be an asshole. So if he were to all of a sudden come up to you and be like, hello, I think this cooking could use some improvement, and maybe wipe the plate a little bit when you're done. And like, that would never happen because his brand is not that. So I'm not telling you have to be pretentious in all the words that you use, but you have to be careful about the vocabulary not being too similar to what people think they do with their photographs. And then also it has to match your brand. And that's that alignment, because people can sense when things are out of alignment. And it just takes one little thing to throw people off. So if you were to go into a beautiful luxury hotel and you see the concierge dressed in a uniform, like sometimes in some of the hotels, like maybe in England or something, they're really dressed up in like a very traditional uniform. And then you look down and you see that their shoes are like scuffed and falling apart. It would throw off the entire vibe, right? And we would notice that. We'd be like, oh my God, his shoes are just like complete disaster and doesn't match the rest of the outfit. And so maybe that person thought that nobody would notice the shoes, but consumers are savvy and they will feel or notice when something is off. Even if they can't see something like a pair of shoes, they might know that something is off. So you have to be really, really careful in crafting the story you want people to have in their heads about you. If you don't craft that story, then they will craft their own story, and it may not match what it is exactly that you want to convey. So let us be good stewards of the language that we use to make sure that our vocabulary is in line with the brand. And that can mean that you can build a list that has a list of words that has the yes words, no words, and like completely off. Like, don't ever do that, and you should do that in your brand guide altogether, not only when it comes to words but other things like wardrobe and things like that. So I have a rule: I don't wear jeans to any of my sessions, and I don't wear jeans to any of my consults. Personal preference, but that is part of my brand. And then I have certain words that I completely avoid, like pics and shooting. uh, those are sort of on my list of things to avoid. Maybe like, I don't think I'll ever use pics. Maybe shooting falls in there once in a while if I'm tired. But for the most part, you have to control your brand and control how people feel about you in creating a beautiful image and then attracting them with a unique selling proposition where they just inherently know from that proposition that you are the one for them. Okay, so that's it for today. Tune in tomorrow for uh, the second to last video. We're almost at the end of the alphabet. And in the meantime, again, if you're struggling, download the free PDF guide. The link is in the description. Okay, take care, Shine Sparklers. Bye.